Today I'm going to show you how to create a simple Pong game. First, what you want to do is create the sprite for the bar. So I loaded it from the example sprites that are already created in GameMaker. First, you want to make the mask rectangular, so then the outsides can collide with the walls easier, and call the sprite bat. Make sure to center it. Next, create the sprite for the ball, which I found also in the examples. Call it SPR_ball. Now we need a wall sprite. So go down. Oh, this is the wrong file. We have to go back to the other examples of sprites and go to the maze platform. At the very bottom, they have the wall sprites. And just call this SPR_wall. And now that we have all the images, we can go to create the objects. First, create player 1. So object_player 1. Make the sprite the bat. And what we want to do is make a move up and down. So key press up and make a move at a speed of 8. Then we can duplicate that, key press down, change the speed to down at a speed of 8. Now key release up, set the speed to 0 and stop. And also for key release down. Now what will happen is if you are releasing up and have down held, it will become a very blocky motion. So what you want to do is keyboard check and then V key down because you're in the release for the up. And if that equals to false, then you have the speed go to 0. So that means no keys are held, so you'll just stop. And then you have the else statement, and you would set the speed down to 8. So that means the down key is held, so you're moving down. Now you copy this over, but you switch the keyboard check to V key up. And then you switch the direction of the speed. Now that we have this simple one done, we'll make the player 2. So duplicate, call it object player 2. But we want to switch the name of the keys, so we switch it to key press, the W, and then S for the down. The differences between the key release for letters when you're checking them compared to the built-in ones like left, right, up, down, and everyone else you see up there is that you have to change it to V key and then or D, and then a little quote, and then whatever key you want. Now what I did wrong here was I forgot to put the parentheses around the letter, and in this one I've put the V key, which you'll see me fix later. Now that we have that bar created, what we want to do is create the wall. So just call it obj_wall, and then just check solid, and that's all you need. Now we create the ball object. Just call it obj_ball. Then we want to add event, collision with player 1. We want to have it bounce against all objects. If you click solid objects, it won't bounce against the player. Then we duplicate this for player 2, and then we make it for the wall too. What we want for this one is we can just use bounce against all solids. Now the ball has been created. Now we go back to here, and if you want to add a computer to play with, what you would do first is to create, and we have variable global players. So this means it's just a variable I made for how many players are in the game. And then we put this in each of the key presses, so if global players is 0. What I'll show you later is that when global players is 0, this means that this game is actually 2 players, and not you playing against a computer. So then what you want to do is go to the step event, then the movement, you go step towards, then you want X to be X, and the Y to be object_ball.y at a speed of 8. So this means that it will stop against solids, and wherever the ball's Y coordinate is, it'll move towards that point. but it will still stay against where it's the relative X location. And then collision with the wall, you have it stop. Now back in the player 1, collision with wall, we need to put it to stop. Then after that, we put key press space, and we want, this is to show when you want to throw the ball out. So in the create event, we put global throw equal to 0. So that equals to 1. Sorry. That means there's no ball on play. What we want is global throw to 1, and then we want to create an object. But we wanted to have a chance to go up or down. So we put with a chance out of 2, we put it to create an object ball at our just relative 0, 0 for X and Y. That means but we want X to be -8. Sorry, we want that because otherwise it'll produce the ball on top of the bar and then it won't move at all. And we want a speed in the direction of 135. That means it will go to the top left. And then we have the else, so that means if that doesn't work, then we go to the other direction, which would be 225 and at the speed of 14. Now what you can do instead of having a variable for global throw, you could do if instance number ball is equal to 0, then you could have this work. And then you wouldn't need that variable for global throw. And what we want to do in the object ball event is when it comes outside the room, but then we want to choose which side. So if the variable X is smaller than, we'll just say 10, just because it makes it a little simpler. And then you could say we want to set the variable global throw to 0, or 1 I mean. So that will do means that the player can throw another ball out of it. Then we want to create the object HUD though. So what this will do is it'll draw the score. So first we have to create the score. We want this as a variable instead of using the score event. You could do that, but that would only return one score. You could use lives or health for the other one if you really want to. So we have global player 1 score and global player 2 score, and set them both to 0. Now what we want to do is in the draw event, what we want to do is draw the variables at a location. So first, if we change the height, so then above the room you'll have a blank slate, and then the walls will be below, which will be shown when I create all the objects in here. What we want to do is find the point of which we want to create where the score is drawn. So if we look at it, we can see it's at 16, 16 will be one place, and the other one will be 624 and 16 for the Y. If you put it 0, it would be cut off at the top of the room for a little. So we wanted to draw here is the player score at the position 16, 16. And then we want to copy that and draw it at 624 and the other player's score. Oh, I'm sorry, we actually want it player 1 at 624 because we want the player to be created on the right side of the screen, and then the player 2 will be on the left side of the screen. So that should work. So we'll draw whatever the number is. Now what we want is to go back to the ball object and put so this means if it's still on the left side, so it'll put the player 1 score relative to 1 more point. And we'll just say else, so that means if X is bigger than 10, so this will be when it goes outside the boundary on the right side of the screen. We'll have it set this player's 2 score relative to +1. Now that we have that, we can first create a room now. After we fix the HUD, we want to know if it's 1 players or 2 players. So we'll use the check question, 2 players. That will just be what shows up. So if the person says yes, that means there's 2 players playing. So we want to set the variable global.players, which I created right there, equal to 0. But then if the user says no to it, then the global players will equal 1. So that means you're playing against a computer. Now we have to put that variable in the step event. So if global players is equal to 1, then that means it will do this AI action. Now that we have that, most of the things should work. So now we just put everything in the room. So here we go. First, put all the objects in the room. Create the player on the right side, and then we'll have player 2 on the left. Now we put the walls on the top and the bottom, which, oops, my bad. What you can do is if you hold down shift, it'll drag multiple instances, but it's how it's centered. And since I forgot to center the wall, it's from the left to the right, so it'll place it like this. And what you want to do is, like what I did, is leave a little space at the top. So then that's where your numbers are drawn for your scores. Now we don't need to create the ball because the player creates it, but we need to make sure the HUD's in there. Now this room should be good. We click play, and now you can see that I accidentally did the wrong thing because I forgot parentheses. So what we have to do is go back in the player to, wrong player, go back in player 2, and then we click, we have that, and then we go in the release, and we put parentheses in. Make sure to leave the little quotation symbols inside, or the apostrophes, I mean. The last one, I forgot to delete the V key, but V key cannot be in there because that's, you're doing like a general check for maybe control left or right. When you're doing the order of S, that's just any letter on the keyboard you would do this for. So now it should work. So we click play, and then we click yes or no. This means the AI. Oh, but the ball wasn't created. So that means that the object of the AI has nowhere to go. So what we have to do is we go to instance. If the instance number of the object ball is equal to 1, then it'll perform these events. If it's not there, it won't go anywhere. So no errors will occur. Now we do 2 players. Nope. So that means it's an AI. See, now it has it moving. But see, the number for the score is going up because I forgot to create an instance destroying when it's outside the room. So now, when it's outside the room, the ball will be destroyed. What we want to do is we want to put the event destroy. We'll put the variable global throw to 1. So that means when it's destroyed, then you can throw out another ball. Now it should all look good. And we want the speed up a little bit more, because otherwise you're a little too slow. Because the AI doesn't know what to do. Now if we play, 2 players, nope. Now you can see, he follows the ball. I'm controlling it on the right. It works perfect. And what we'll see right here is he scores. And see, he gets a point. And this will be my first video, conclusion of Pong.